Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hi, grade 9. How are you today, girls? Today, inshallah, we will talk about the principle of complete dominance. On the last lesson, we start in the genetics unit, and we talked about the inheritance of one pair of contrasting traits or of opposite traits, and we took the Mendel experiment, and he did his experiment on the 7 traits, but we talked only about the color trait of the seeds, and he found finally that the produced plant in the first generation, the color was yellow and the green color disappears in the first generation, and in the second generation he found that the green color appears only in the second generation. Okay, it's a quarter of green seeds and 3/4 are of yellow seeds. He did this experiment on all the 7 traits of the pea plant. So Mendel repeated the same experiment on the 7 traits of the pea plant and got the same results, where one of the 2 traits appeared in all offspring of the first generation, and the other trait disappeared completely in the first generation and appear in the second generation. So the trait that appears in the first generation, it is called the dominant trait. So what is the dominant trait? It is the trait or the characteristic that appears in all individuals of the first generation. It appears in all individuals of the first generation. And the other trait that disappears completely in the individuals of the first generation, it's called the recessive trait. So we have 2 traits. One of them is called dominant. Dominant means what? The trait that appears in all individuals of the first generation, but the recessive disappears completely, like the green color of the seed that disappears completely in all the individuals of the first generation and started to appear in the second generation. And he found that the dominant traits, after he did all the experiments on the 7 traits of the pea plant, he found that the dominant traits of the pea plant are seed shape smooth and the color yellow, pod shape of it swollen and color green, flower color of it red, and the position side, stem tall. So these are the traits that appear in all individuals of the first generations, and the opposite traits for these traits, they are the recessive traits. So just study these characteristics or these traits, save it in your mind, and you will know that the other traits or the other characteristics or the opposite traits will be the recessive traits of the pea plant. So study these characteristics and you will know that these are the recessive traits of the pea plant. So what are they again? Dominant traits of the pea plant: seed smooth and yellow, pod swollen and green, flower red and side position, stem tall. Trait is the dominant trait. So the principle of complete dominance, you will study this. It's so easy. It's studied by understanding. It is the appearance of a dominant hereditary trait. Appearance of a dominant one of these traits. Appearance of a dominant hereditary trait in the individuals of the first generation. This trait is called dominant because it appears in all individuals of the first generation. When the parents, 2 individuals are crossed or are met together or are crossed, one of them carries a pure trait like yellow color, contrasting the trait, the green color, carried by the other individuals. Again, when two individuals are crossed, when two individuals are met together, one of them carries a pure trait and the other one carried a pure trait contrasting to this trait. When they met, what happened? The dominant hereditary trait appear in the individuals of the first generation. So, what is the principle of complete dominance? It is the appearance of what? Dominant hereditary trait in the individuals of the first generation. This happens when what? When two individuals are crossed or are met together. One of them carries a pure trait like yellow color of the seed, and the other one carries a pure color also, but contrasting to the first individual. So green color with yellow color seeds, they are two pure colors contrasting to each other. So one of them carries a pure trait contrasting the trait carried by the other individuals. Again, when we want to say it again without looking at it, what is the principle of complete dominance? It is the appearance of the dominant hereditary trait in the individuals of the first generation. When two individuals are crossed, one of them carries a pure trait contrasting or opposite to the trait carried by the other individuals. Thank you.